Today on the show, forgiveness from the courtroom, phrases to help with teen life. Catholic families are weird, right? Our picks of the week and so much more. The Catholic Underground starts right now. It is time for the Catholic Underground. We are the podcast that tries to cut through the noise of the digital continent and pretty much everywhere else and bring you the topics that matter. It's episode number 406. I am Father Chris Decker. Joining me this week, you know him, Kathleen Lee, the executive director of the Women's New Life Clinic here in Baton Rouge. Hey, yes. Kathleen.
Well, hello.
Yes, indeed. And Olivia Gulino. She is the student of life and resident Italian food critic on the show and just in general. Hey, Olivia.
Hello.
Also, if we head up to space and to the satellite of love up there at Jeff Blackwell on the Jeff Star 1, he is our technical director, and he's just orbiting at a low orbit.
Yes.
But always with high hopes.
And it's potluck night here,
too. Potluck night.
Yes.
Yeah, so that means you have like all your space pills that are all, 3 and 4
Bring
course
your favorite
meals.
tube.
Yeah, your favorite tube. There you go. And then, of course, if you happen to be watching us anywhere video is served, Ed Ball is the guy who is responsible for that. So we're always grateful to Ed. That's right. This show brought to you by Ed. Alrighty. Well, you probably saw this in the news because it was heavily covered. But that was a guilty verdict. A guilty verdict that was reached against Amber Geiger. She was the former Dallas police officer who shot and killed a man named Botham Jean last year. She was sentenced. She was found guilty, and she was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and she's eligible for parole after 5 years. So this case got national coverage, and it really is something because it didn't get headlines for just what happened, right? Yeah. But it got headlines and was nationally covered because of what happened in the courtroom. There was an extraordinary moment of grace that occurred between Geiger and the members of Botham's family. Mm-hmm. So during the course of the victim impact statements, Brant Jean, who is the deceased's brother, he was sitting behind in the witness stand. He was sitting there, and he told Geiger and the court, and I quote, if you truly are sorry, I know I can speak for myself. I forgive you. I know if you go to God and ask him, he will forgive you, Brant Jean said. And he said, and I quote, and I don't think anyone can say it. Again, I'm speaking for myself, but I love you just like anyone else. And then he went even further. I mean, so there's obviously some soul searching happening here as he's speaking. He says, and I'm not going to say I hope you rot and die just like my brother did, but presently I want the best for you. And I wasn't going to ever say this in front of my family or anyone, but I don't even want you to go to jail, unquote. And he kept going. He said, I want the best for you because I know that's exactly what Botham would want you to do. And the best would be to give your life to Christ. I'm not going to say anything else. I think giving your life to Christ would be the best thing that Botham would want you to do. Again, I love you as a person, and I don't wish anything bad on you. I don't know if this is possible, but can I give her a hug, please? And he asks several times. And so after that statement, Judge Tammy Kemp allowed him to come around and to go and to hug Amber. And we'll put the link in the show notes so you can watch the video on YouTube, but it really was quite moving.
Yeah. Well, even the judge, she took a beat to answer his question about whether or not he could hug Amber, but whenever the video panned out after she said yes, you could see her dabbing her eyes with tissue, she was openly crying.
Yeah, well, because this is, and the reason that we cover it certainly on the Catholic Underground is because this was an actual moment of forgiveness.
Yeah.
And it was also a moment where justice is served, but justice is not divorced from mercy.
Right.
Because as you've heard us say before on the show, and we talk about one of the injustices in our world is that justice is divorced from mercy. And so Amber still has to serve her time in prison. She's still, she's still guilty of the crime, but she's forgiven by at least one of the family members, the brother of the person who she killed. And so it really is quite something to look at this from all of these angles and to say that this is true justice and true mercy. And I can only think of the psalm where justice and mercy embrace, they kiss.
Right.
And this was one of those moments that psalm just kind of raced through my head. And I said, justice and mercy have kissed in this moment. Because she, to watch the video, she was already sobbing by the time that Brant came over to hug her. And as we often say, tears, I say this in the confessional, tears are almost the most perfect form of contrition, because tears show that there's something that is going on an emotional level, but something deeper too. Tears come from the heart, you know? And so that's exactly what happened. He went over and Brant hugged Amber, and the two stood in an embrace for nearly a full minute, and she kept coming back to hug him. And it really, really was quite something. She kept coming back and coming back. When the trial concluded, Judge Kemp left the bench herself, and she approached the Brant family to offer condolences. And then she went over to Amber Geiger, and the judge gave Geiger a copy of the Bible and directed her to that verse that we know so well, John 3:16, which she said would strengthen Geiger. So again, you can see that the judge, of course, is there present to act on behalf of the state, the state of Texas, and on behalf of the people, and to rule justly, right? That's what a judge does. And yet the judge did not divorce herself as being a woman of faith, but rather she allowed her faith to inform how she passed down the verdict. And again, you see the judge showing a form of mercy by directing her to the scriptures. So Brant says the best thing you can do to kind of atone for my brother is to give yourself to Christ. And then the judge provides the method by which that can happen. Of course, we don't know Amber's situation. I don't know if she was a believer or not. I mean, just about everybody, I think, in Texas is Christian of one form or another. But to be reintroduced to John 3:16. And then to let those words be the ones that go with her as she goes to serve her term in prison. The judge leaned in to speak privately to Geiger, whose response made Kemp explain, "It's not because I'm good, it's because I believe in Christ." The judge told Amber, "You haven't done so much that you can't be forgiven. You did something bad in one moment in time. What you do now matters. What you do now matters." And I think that's oftentimes the things that we forget in our lives. And that's why people, I think, stay away from like the sacrament of reconciliation, is because something happens in our life where we think that not only can I not be forgiven by human beings, but I can't be forgiven by God. And if you've ever done any work in the prison system, there are many men and women who have done reprehensible things and are kind of, have to deal with the consequences of their actions. But it does not mean that God won't forgive them. And furthermore, it doesn't mean that that God isn't having mercy upon them, even as they are serving their just sentence.
What struck me about this was that this is Botham's younger brother. And he's a young man, and he doesn't look more than, probably early 20s. And so you have to imagine for me, I've just been imagining just this loss in his life, and how easy it would be for him to be angry, and how incredible it is for just such a young person to on his own, and probably, in the midst of a lot of public.
Well, now he has to. I don't want to say suffer, but now he has to deal with his family life, right? Because other members of the family may not be there, and so that is a courageous and a bold movement to say. I can't speak for anybody else, but speaking for myself, I choose to forgive, and I suppose that's the sermon in there for us is can we speak on our own? Can we speak apart from all of the other external pressures around us? And whenever we are wronged by somebody, can we say, well, I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm willing to forgive, and I'm willing to ask the Lord to help me forget in some sense, because that's always a challenge too, is that we forgive as human beings, but oftentimes we don't forget because we're human beings. And
I think it may not be that he's completely without anger, right? Because you can imagine like the I don't know, I can only conceptually conceive of what he's going through, but you can imagine that there's probably still some anger, but just like the beauty of it is that he's not letting that rule him. Like he's not letting that become the thing that defines him, or the thing that guides his actions from here on in, but he's choosing to be that proper voice and authority over that. And I think that's one of the things that's so powerful about this.
Because oftentimes our desire for revenge and not for, or I guess say for vengeance and not for justice, that then becomes an idol that we begin to worship.
Yeah.
And we sometimes, it's sad because we can call that idol God. And we call it, we kind of say it's my version of justice. I want God's will to be done in this moment. Right. And we forget that, the battle is the Lord's, justice is his and his alone, the ultimate carrying out of justice. And so it's really kind of a beautiful thing, as you say, to see the younger brother, the young one leading and saying, I'm not going to let this corrode
right.
My relationship with Jesus Christ. So it really is kind of a beautiful thing. And so you may just kind of in your own life to say, well, who is it that I need to be bold as well and forgiving? And maybe who is it that I need to be bold enough to humble myself and seek forgiveness from? Because it is possible. And as I say, though justice must be done, mercy can never be divorced from justice. And so to see a young man extend mercy is a really beautiful thing. So this is one of those beautiful little meditations that may make it into an Advent or a Lenten homily,
Yeah. Well, and what a beautiful gift it is for her, and we think all the time when somebody gets sentenced or, when they've done something wrong that let's just throw them away. Yeah. But what a beautiful gift for her to walk into her sentence with that, with some sort of relief.
Right. Is it possible to go to jail and be joyful at the same time? Not because you're twisted,
right?
But because you've been forgiven by the assailant, and now you can serve your term and say, yes, I did this. Yeah. But it's no longer that serving of the term isn't a limit for what comes next.
Right.
Yeah. It's really quite something indeed. Well, if you want to let us know what you think about it, you can. backchat@catholicunderground.com is the email address. You can leave a comment on our website at catholicunderground.com, or you can always join us in the Facebook chat at 7 p.m. Central on Sunday night, and let us know what you think live and in person in the chat room. All right, well, one of the things that we want to remind you that, well, you know it's coming. We are the Catholic Underground. I get to do all week long. You are listening to, you are watching, you are experiencing the Catholic Underground. We're online at catholicunderground.tv, on Facebook at facebook.com/Catholic Underground, on youtube.com/Catholic Underground, on Twitter at twitter.com/Cath Underground, because you got to keep it short. They don't have enough letters there. Our picks of the week are coming up, but first, we thought we'd give the wheel over to Kathleen for a little while. Now,
buckle up, Buttercup.
Kathleen, take the wheel.
Well, what's interesting for both of you, see, I've only taught young people in the classroom in like a parish school of religion setting. But y'all have had, and Olivia, you experience life with teenagers regularly. So we thought we'd spend a little bit of time talking about what it's like to be in the garden of teens.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and this is an area where I still sit at Kathleen's feet.
Oh, Lord. Well, it is
drinking her wisdom.
Wise,
imbibe her wisdom just from years of experience. We know that raising teenagers, now I don't have any of my own, but I've raised, I think I could positively say, I think that I've helped raise a couple hundred teenage girls.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
But you know that if you've ever met a teenager, sometimes they can be a little difficult, and like you're walking in a minefield, but they're awesome people if you know how to approach them and if you know the right words to say. And so a lot of times I think, as teachers, as youth ministers, as parents, we have a tendency, I know there was something in my brain that switched when I was a teacher. And I remember one of my students was talking to me and I was like, excuse me, I'm an adult. And there was like, you're going to talk to me with respect because I'm an adult. And I was like, wait.
I've just become my mother.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So our friends at Alatea have given us some ways to rephrase or to talk to teenagers. So the number one is... By
the way, we like lists.
Yeah, we do love our lists, right? And so the number one, the first one they give you is, here's what needs to be accomplished today, right? Try this phrase rather than this is what you need to do, or do this now. Do this now because I said so, right? Teenagers want to be treated more like adults and less like kids. And this phrasing, here's what needs to be accomplished today, gives them more control. It doesn't give them, it doesn't mean it has to be done right now. This is just where we are. And by the end of the day, this is where you need to be,
So
right?
it's kind of like giving them the homing beacon for
the
next 24 hours.
Yeah, and it allows them some latitude as to when they do it, how they do it. It gives them a little bit of freedom. So, for instance, this needs to be done before dinner time. So you get a little less resistance that way. I mean, it may be Sunday morning. You're saying, okay, this needs to be done before dinner. They have all day to do it, and especially if you kind of say, hey, you can't eat until you do this.
Yeah, right.
But it needs to be done. You have all day to do it, right?
I like to phrase it in terms of like, all right, so you have some choices to make right now. And I'm inviting you to make a good choice and thinking about like 2 days from now, 3 days from now, when there's something due or there's something that you have that might be more pressing in your mind, so make a good choice now, lower stress later kind of thing.
I used to be a teen and I
Really?
I
actually don't believe that.
What?
I think that you came out this way.
I was decanted at 30. Is that what you think? Yeah. Well, maybe Aldous Huxley was right. No, I was a teenager, and many people remember my teenage years. And
We've seen the pictures.
There are pictures. I enjoyed having choices. So that you have a limited kind of buffet of choices, but you still feel like you're kind of being able to step out on your own a little bit and choose.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really cool. I mean, like, how many of us? Some of us are like, I need to get from, or we need to be told, you need to get from point A to point B, and this is exactly how you need to do it. A lot of teenagers say, I need you to get from point A to point B. Go. Right? And they'll figure it out, and it empowers them, right? So number 2, I love this one. What do you think you should do?
Yeah.
A lot of times as adults, we say, well, what you should do is blah, blah, blah. And it's not about assigning chores, right? Or assigning, life lessons. This is what you should do. But helping your teen problem solve on his or her own, right? And so what do you think you should do is an opportunity for them to feel in control of their choices, right? It also avoids having your teen feel like you're constantly telling him or her what to do. How many times do we hear teenagers say, you're always telling me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. I still tell people that. I was at the football game last night and they were like, get loud. And I go, don't tell me what to do. I do what I want, right?
I'm going to be quiet.
Yeah.
That's right.
And a lot of times, when we talk to teens, they don't problem solve. They don't know how to because they're never given the chance to.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I need you to A, B, C, get it done.
And I find that nowadays young people tend to, I've even heard it, Father, just tell me what to do.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, I've even said, well, I'd love to tell you exactly what to do, and I can give you kind of a scenario to follow. However, I want you to think your way through this. Usually it's like a moral quandary, right. And to be able to give them some latitude, as you say, to problem solve, and to draw upon the resources that you have learned as a young person. You have such an inestimable value as a teenager because, as Saint Benedict reminds his monks, always listen to the young monks because they have the benefit of youth, and the young monks have to listen to the old ones because they have the benefit of wisdom. Right. But that doesn't mean that a teenager can't come at a problem from a new kind of angle and actually teach me something. So what do you think you should do?
Yeah, a lot of times, and I saw this in teaching. Even the way that we educate our kids sometimes can be very. I'm going to give you the information. I'm going to give you all the information that you need to reproduce. You're going to reproduce it, and then you're going to move on. So they don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to imagine. They don't know how to think of things, kind of on their own. And so I think that's excellent. So number 3, the phrase is, who will remember this 1 week from now or even a month from now? Now, we know teenagers get embarrassed really easily. They think that everybody is watching them and that, any mistake that they made is going to be on everybody's mind for the rest of their lives.
Isn't it amazing how when you kind of cross over into adulthood, it's so easy to flush things that embarrass you?
Yeah. You just get back, you trip on a sidewalk and you get back up and it's like, all right.
But as a teenager,
no.
As a teenager, that hasn't happened enough times, I guess.
Yeah. So if you ask a teenager who complains about some horrifying incident that happened in school, who will remember this 1 week from now or even a month from now? The answer inevitably will be, if they think really hard about it, practically no one, if anyone, besides me, besides myself, will remember it till the day we die. I still remember things that I did in elementary school where I'm like, oh gosh. Right? And why is that the case? And it's important to remind teenagers of this, because as freaked out as they are about, any mistakes that they make, so is everybody else. And everybody else is thinking, they saw me trip in the hall and I'm never going to live it down. Our 20-year, reunion, they'll be bringing this up on the blooper reel.
And maybe so. And if they do that, it's because they themselves have never moved on.
Yeah. And 20 years from now, you're going to go, okay, lame. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. By tomorrow morning, it's going to be something different. It's going to be somebody else's story. It's going to be somebody else's, mistake, and you'll be old news.
Well, that's like whenever I'm training altar servers, they're mortified when something goes wrong, there's going to be mass next week, and by that time, I've done plenty of stuff that I'm embarrassed about, liturgically speaking,
Yeah.
But nobody remembers it from week to week, unless you burn the church down, in which case. But that hasn't happened.
That'll be that will be remembered for years to come. Many finance committee meetings later.
That's right.
Yeah. Number 4, and this is so. This is like I don't know. I feel like this is number 1 in my heart. Don't sweat the small stuff. Right. You look, when you're dealing with teenage girls, don't ever tell them you're overreacting and this does not matter, right? That is the worst thing you can do is to kind of downplay a teenager's feelings, right? If they're freaking out about something, obviously it's important to them.
They're feeling something deeply.
And if we're just like, you're overreacting and it's not that big a deal, well, then you just totally squash them. And I've seen it happen to people as adults, but in the grand scheme of life, right, we're in the same dress as another girl to the party. It's not that big a deal. Right? It could be, again, they're going to think somebody's going to remember it forever. Don't sweat it. Who cares? Make it a joke, right? Or as my dad says, make it an adventure. If something doesn't go right, make it an adventure.
I like that.
That explains my life, Kathleen. Your dad is so wise.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Steve, you're so wise.
Yeah. I would call my dad and be like, in tears somewhere doing something. And he's like, you know what, Boog? Do it, like making an adventure. That's all this is, an adventure. And I'm like, okay. But
and it was then that Kathleen would just go and stand next to the person that would have the same dress on and shadow them the whole night.
And I'm like, literally for me, I think that is why, I attest that my own personality to this idea of being able to laugh at yourself is a great quality. And I did it kind of as a defense mechanism. I wanted to make sure people were laughing at me because I controlled it, rather than something I couldn't control. And so everything turned, every blunder that I made was turned into a joke, and not everybody has that ability. But it's not that, it really, how do you tell your teens it's not that big a deal without downplaying it? Yeah. Don't sweat it, man. It's going to be okay. Yeah. That's another thing my dad, here's to dad, that is his one thing. Everything's going to be okay. Yeah. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. The truth will out. It all comes out in the wash. Olga says in the chat room, it's so hard for me to not sweat the small stuff. She says, being a mom though is making it easier to just let it go.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd imagine as a mom, that's a necessity.
Yeah.
You can only carry so much of your own stuff, plus your family stuff. You got to know when to. Yeah. When to hold them and when to fold them.
Oh, especially if it's laundry.
Yep. Yeah. Number 5, what is the worst thing that can possibly happen?
Oof, yeah.
You can use this phrase, for example, if your teen is in anguish over the need to ace a test or get into the college of his or her dreams. In my life, I've always been like, what is the worst case scenario? I'm going to prepare for that and then be mildly shocked when, you know, when things don't go that way.
Right.
When it doesn't blow up in my face, when I don't get kicked out of high school and have to go, you know, get a job and support myself because my mom has disowned me. No, like, you know, what is the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to be able to authentically reflect with your teen about.
Yeah.
When kind of in a like slightly different way, I related to this. Like I remember, you know, I was kind of high strung as a teenager. It's fine. Just like wanting to like be like as perfect as possible, like do the best to get the good grades, right? But I remember my dad telling me one time, "Does this affect your salvation?"
No.
And I I remember that.
What is the deal?
Yeah, right? Dad's just the fount of all wisdom.
Dad's dadding.
I still remember that, and I still carry it with me when I start to freak out about stuff. Like, does this affect your salvation? If it doesn't, let it go.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Nice.
And last but not least, number 6. This is a hard one for me. It was nice while it lasted.
Like a Green Day song.
Yes, it was nice while it lasted. Good things in life will inevitably come to an end, like the chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream that you have hiding in your freezer. Right? But focusing on the blessing that was enjoyed, even for a short amount of time, makes you happier than dwelling on the void. And a lot of times, you know, for me, you know, and especially nowadays, I think teenagers live for the next good. Yeah. They're never really present in where they are.
Or the next hit of of whatever the experience is.
Exactly. And so teaching them to enjoy it while it lasts. Yeah. And know that, you know, you can look back on it and say, that was a great gift in my life, or this was a great time, or that, you know, what's even harder for teens, that was a great friendship. And it is no longer, especially when they move to college and they move, you know,
that's true.
Yeah. So ultimately the best way to deal with teenagers is through patience, love, and giving them space, but always ensuring them that we as adults, as parents, as grandparents, as teachers, as mentors, that we want to give them that space, but we're always there for them when they need us. For sure. Yeah. Because they also, as much as they want to fly, you know, jump out the nest and kamikaze down, you know, you're like, they will inevitably turn back around and say, I need you.
That's true. And of course, to remember to cover the relationship that you have with your child at every stage in prayer.
Absolutely.
We're going to take a moment for prayer. Stick right with us. We are at the Catholic Underground. Hail, Holy Queen, Mother of Mercy, our life, our sweetness, and our hope. To thee do we cry, poor banished children of Eve. To thee do we send up our sighs, mourning and weeping in this valley of tears. Turn then, most gracious Advocate, thine eyes of mercy towards us, and after this our exile, show unto us the blessed fruit of thy womb, Jesus. O clement, O loving, O sweet Virgin Mary. Welcome back. You found the Catholic Underground with me, Father Chris Decker, with Kathleen Lee. She's there. Olivia Gulino, also there. Jeff Blackwell, Ed Ball, and a host of angels, we presume, because our guardian angels probably work overtime on this show. And we're glad. We're glad because we're here. Our picks of the week are coming up, but first, Catholic families are, well, different.
Yes.
A little weird because Catholics are weird, huh? We readily admit it. And so we thought we would talk about some of the things that make the Catholic family different. You can probably expand this to say, you know, Christian families.
Right.
But there's something about the Catholic ethos, the Catholic world, that makes families just a little different.
It's a little bit strange. Yeah, it was Flannery O'Connor who said something about like the strangeness of grace. If not,
yes, grace does.
Posit that. Yeah,
grace does strange things to us.
It does strange things to us. I mean, that's why I love like the weirdness of our faith. I love that like things are just like kind of strange and off kilter sometimes, or at least like to the world's eyes, because it's just a radical way of living.
Right. You have the head of Catherine of Siena on the one hand in one church, and the body of Catherine of Siena in another.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is like the funniest thing to describe to people, like why you have a saint splintered into a million pieces, and then their heads in this baldacchino in Rome. realm. Like, it's strange, right? But I think that it's because it comes down to grace. Like, grace makes things a little bit strange, or at least it's strange to us.
Yeah, particular, perhaps.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe extends to the particularity of like the Catholic family. And so thinking about like the fundamental concept of what a Catholic family is that participation through grace, right, in the sacramental marriage, that participation in Christ's marriage to his church, right? When we say that Christ is a bridegroom, it's not a metaphor, right?
No.
He is very much a bridegroom who is wed to his bride.
Yeah, and that's
It's
us.
you. Yeah, it's us. And so as Vatican II puts it, Christ fills the church, which is his body and his fullness. I love that. With his divine gifts so that it may expand and reach all the fullness of God. Oh my gosh.
It's kind of like I get the sense, certainly sacramentally this works, but the Lord himself is kind of the vivifying force, like a medicine. Like, whenever you watch those commercials about Pepto-Bismol and they show you the stomach being lined with this pink liquid, and covered. I get the sense of that's exactly what Christ the head does. When he's married to his bride, the church, all of a sudden, his divine power then begins to diffuse throughout all of its members, which is us. And so we become the very, very real hands and feet, the very real mystical body of Christ.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And just like the mystical body of Christ, we hear this in Paul's letters about how, every person in the body has a different function and it doesn't detract from the other functions just because you don't have that function, right? Or because you do or don't. He says that, or we can think of the family as participating in this marriage to Christ's marriage to the church, but each member is going to do that differently. And so, but each member as a family, right, they participate in this greater unit, this kind of the sum is greater than the parts sort of thing. So they participate in this family, and in that way, they allow each other to reach that fullness of God, right? But it happens through the grace that's given to be able to imitate, to actually participate in that real Christ marriage of Christ to his church.
I don't want to get ahead of you. I don't think I am, but I love the fact that parents look at their children as they're growing up, and they begin to realize in themselves as parents some new gift that they've got, or some new ability as a Christian that they have, watching their children grow in virtue and grow in that adventure that is life, as they're kind of discovering life for the first time. And that's part of that beautiful thing where the sum is greater than its parts, that each individual member of the family, as the other members grow, then have the capacity to kind of expand.
Yeah, exactly.
As people.
Exactly. Yeah. And expand. I mean, even if you have like this particular set of people, right? Like your family's size has been, concretized for a long time, but you shift and change, right? As grace works in you, as you experience different things in your life. And so that impacts other people in your family differently. And so you're all like slowly like stretching, right? That's Augustine's metaphor for like the desires of the heart. But I think that it's really fit and apt for this too. Like we slowly like kind of stretch each other, slowly allow each other to grow and to grow and to grow, so that we have more room for that fullness of God. Yeah,
and that starts with man and woman coming to know each other, right?
Exactly, yeah. So, just to start out, man and woman get to know each other chastely, right? That's not something
that we don't use.
It's not.
I
it's also a concept that we don't
I was going to
use.
say, I know of people being named chastity, but the notion of having a chaste love for the woman that I am courting, for the man that is being courted by the woman. Those beautiful things, is that it does go both ways, and wanting the best for them, and wanting a pureness in that relationship. I mean, that's really what chastity is.
Well, it's a willingness to tell the person the truth with everything that you have, right? The way that I think about it, like unchastity, is really just like as a kind of lie, right? But it's a lie that's told with the whole person, right? So chastity is really a truth that's told with the whole person, which is that I'm striving to know you in the way that is appropriate for right now, right? In this particular state of life where maybe we're discerning something together, but we're going to do it in light of the fact that we are not yet married, we are not yet participating in a real way in Christ's marriage to his church. And so you
mean that when man and woman get to know each other in a chaste fashion, it's not just saying we have feelings for each other, because oftentimes that's how it gets couched.
Right. No, and it's not like, which isn't to say your feelings aren't important.
No, they are.
But
they lead, right?
Exactly, they lead, right? Think of like anagogy, right? Like like anagogically, we are led to something greater, right? So you are drawn to each other obviously through feelings, right? If you didn't have feelings for someone, you probably shouldn't be with that person, right? But it's all about, is everything ordered to the good of that person, right? Do you live your life based on a love that is based on Christ, right? Do you work daily for the good of the other person?
And you hear people talking about we were meant for each other, and that doesn't happen just on a level of feeling, but only in true time spent with one another and kind of growing into the, how shall I say, kind of growing into the shape of the other person, right?
Yeah, like that.
I suppose.
Well, I think chastity teaches you to work for the good of the other person, because it's not the easiest thing in the world, right? And I think that's part of like what Chesterton says about like this, the truth of the church is, or the good of the church is that it hasn't been like, what is it, like hasn't been tried.
That it's been found difficult and found wanting.
Yeah.
It's been that it's found difficult and not tried.
Right? So I think that's kind of the similar thing with chastity, is that it's very difficult, but it's doable, right? But it just takes effort. It takes, and asking
and it takes
for grace.
Time. I know, like whenever I have couples that sometimes will come to me and say, "Hey, we're going to get married," I go, "Great. What's the courtship been like? How have you gotten to know each other?" And they're like, "Well, we just met 3 months ago." I'm like, well, we can start your marriage prep, but there's more to it.
Exactly. So the good of the person, right? It's obviously like what we're aiming for, right? Because the good of the person is to be a saint, right? That's what we're all called towards. You are called to be a saint. We had 4 saints canonized today. If you're listening to this in real time, whoop whoop, Saint John, Henry Cardinal Newman. But you are called to be a saint as well, and that is your true good, is holiness. So that should be the aim of the other person, right? That's what chaste love is aimed towards, is the good of the other person, and ultimately the good of the family that comes from that true love, that genuine love. And that good of the person is what God wishes for you, right? And so it's kind of starts with these like basics of survival, maybe like tending to basic needs. And then it builds, right? It builds to the emotional level, the psychological level, right? Then you get into maybe like the goodness of marriage, but ultimately it's all pointing towards building towards the glory of heaven, right? The glory of sharing in God's goodness as a family.
Do we often think about, it's like, goes back to the question your dad asked you those many years ago and probably still does this affect your salvation? And I wonder how many relationships begin or even subsist with that question of, is this good for the salvation of the other person, their ultimate salvation? Am I preparing them for heaven?
Yeah. Exactly. Oof.
I often, I don't know. I often, I'll just be honest with you, as a priest, I don't often think about like, well, will this benefit my salvation? I don't always like give voice to that as I'm discerning something. True confessions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it's necessary. It's essential to certainly building up a family, but also building up a family of faith.
Exactly. Yeah. So another kind of characteristic about the Catholic family is that, such a family is self-preserving. And what we mean by that is that each member of the family does what he or she can to preserve that family community, understood in this way, right? We've talked about how this is a family community that's based on grace. It's based on, like chastity that's lived out and throughout, right? Not just in the initial stages, but throughout the marriage itself, right? Extended to the family because it's about the good of the person, right? So each member of the family does what they can to uphold the integrity of the family. And so we can see how like precious this sort of thing is, because maybe we don't see that very often. Like conceptually, we can understand that this is a precious thing because maybe its rarity puts that in our mind. And so really like the members of each family should learn early, preferably early, that they often will have to be kind of on their own in the different tasks that they're asked to do in the world, and in their greater communities, right? But we hopefully will get support from our extended family, from like-minded families, right? So especially because this is such a rare thing, it's like when you find someone who thinks the same way that you do, or someone who has the same interests as you kind of like cling to that person, like, okay, I found one, right? So a lot of times when it comes to the Catholic family, you might feel like adrift, in the world, like, all right, well, no one understands why we would want to practice NFP, or no one would understand why we want to homeschool our kids, right? And so you maybe feel a little bit like on your own to make those tough decisions. So when you find another Catholic family, it's like you're helping each other preserve like the sanctity of your particular family.
Oh, and I've seen that before, that there's a great deal of solidarity when you have a family that goes, are you having this issue with your child's education? Are you having this issue in your parish? And to be able to seek that true solidarity so that you can actually live the natural law, which is, first of all, self-preservation.
Right.
We wish to preserve our own life, and that's not just from bodily death, but we want to preserve our own spiritual life as well. And then, of course, that necessarily spills over into, I want to preserve the life of those who are my spiritual and biological progeny.
Right.
That's so that self-preservation does become collective.
Yeah, exactly. A collective project, right? And it's all of those things that make a Catholic family long lasting, right? So the durability of any family is going to be challenged from the outside as well as inside. Yeah. We've all experienced that too.
That's right. The wounds are not always just from the culture at large. The wounds happen on the inside of the family too.
Yep. Things can crack from the inside just as easily as they can crack from the outside.
That's right.
And there's that reality that parents are accompanying each other and their children, and also their children accompanying their parents throughout different times in life. All right. So I think that's an important thing to notice too, because I've heard that a lot actually, is that parents will say something like about their kids that like their children have helped them to either like evangelize them or help them to come to a deeper understanding of, something vital for their spiritual life. I hear that more and more.
Happened in my family. I remember I was in high school, and my mom was a convert, and I came home, and I remember the day. I remember where mom was. I remember where I was whenever I spoke to her about the Eucharist. And I had come to believe that Jesus Christ was present, body, blood, soul, and divinity in the Eucharist. I was in high school or late middle school. And I remember that discussion. And my mom later said, it was you who caused me to look deeper into what I believed as a Catholic in the Eucharist. Yeah. And when my mom began to trust that belief in the Eucharist, I watched her. I watched her change. I watched her grow. And as a young person, that still impacts me today.
Yeah. Well, because we might think that it's a little bit backwards, but it's not, right? This is like in the kind of the perfection of the family is that like, the parents give to their children so that their children will grow up and be able to give in return, and not just to the world, right? It's not just this like endless output into society, into the culture, but it also flows back even on the parents themselves. And I think that might be like the piece that we sometimes miss. Yeah. And so maybe that's why it's so shocking, or maybe it's just, I don't know the reasons. I'm not a parent, but like I find it so beautiful that seems to at least being noticed more and more. Yeah.
Well, oftentimes, because if we look at where we are as a culture, it is our children who are rediscovering the traditions of the faith and that are kind of bringing it back into the family as if it's something new, because it is new for many.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think something important to notice that you kind of hinted at a minute ago was also that, we have to be aware as families that the time for families to be isolated from the surrounding culture is gone. Yeah. It's not an option anymore to kind of be an island in the midst of a culture that doesn't understand. Really, like the only other option would seem to be this kind of untiring watchfulness, but that's with anything in the culture anymore, because nothing at face value is really what it is, right? In its essence. So what that means is that everyone has to be properly informed about life and about the world, and most especially about participating in the supernatural life in the church, right? There's so many misunderstandings and things that go on that people perpetuate about the church that we have to remain vigilant, and that starts in the family, right? What are we teaching our kids?
Yeah, I was standing in line to vote yesterday, and I was standing next to a person who hadn't been to church in a while, and I said, well, come to confession, just come on back. She said, confession? I thought y'all did away with that. I said, when?
What?
And there was, it was a basis for a
What?
conversation, but
Yeah.
it was an honest, like, oh, well, I didn't know.
She just didn't know.
And it was actually kind of imputed because of the culture. The culture says that, oh yeah, whatever,
Yeah.
but no, and to kind of allow that to flow back in.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So putting this kind of awareness that we're talking about into context, John Paul II said that families, quote, have the specific role of interpreting the history of the world in the light of Christ, in as much as they are called to illuminate and organize temporal realities according to the plan of God, creator and redeemer, right? So to take the stuff of the world basically and to inject Christ into it, and not even just to do that, but just to kind of demonstrate and to show the world that Christ is already here, right? That Christ came into the world, he was incarnated, right? So that because he's not scared of the world, right? To show this kind of deep illumination of what creation was made to be, what it can be, what it will be again.
Yeah. And that can be as simple as when you're at the Arby's or the whatever, saying grace before meals.
Exactly.
I've watched people watch that happen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you can see the gears turning, like, why don't we say that? I don't know. That was a long time ago, but I wonder if I can do it now. Can I remember how to pray? And I can see that whole thing happening.
Yeah. And I think it comes down to, too, just like being willing to say those things, admit those things, right? Like the person who said to you that they thought that the confession had gone away with it, or that we had done away with confession, or just like if you realize that you have something in your mind that maybe you have a hint at, like maybe this isn't right, just being willing to vocalize it.
Yeah.
I think so much of that is just being authentic about what we do and don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? Especially within our families, right? Parents,
that
children,
kind of
both alike.
Communication has to happen in a family.
Exactly. Catholic families also know how to suffer. This is probably something that's not news to anyone listening, but this could be from simple inconveniences like having to take off work when a kid's sick, or to maybe those really heavy and stressful things, conflicts over maybe like addictions, wrong kinds of friends, families learning to kind of bear with each other, see through rough patches, right? There's different seasons of life that can be something out of a horror movie, right? So just how do we endure it? And then learning to see these experiences for like the humbling redemption that they are, right? That there is hope even in these moments, that hope can never be eradicated from these moments. Yeah. We also just have to kind of be humbled to the fact that the conflicts between the family and the outsiders, right, will increase in these coming years. And what we mean by outsiders are basically just kind of the culture at large, but also just people who maybe openly or even inadvertently are trying to antagonize the family as is. Yeah. Right.
I have a young family who was saying, I'm going to have to explain to my daughter in, 10 years or so why I don't want her on social media.
Exactly. Yeah.
He says, so I now have to be responsible on social media.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So just like all these different conflicts that maybe we're already seeing starting to arise, that, and it's usually those things that require kind of extra explanation because the culture doesn't understand.
No. And provides its own limited explanation that comes across as gospel.
Exactly. But in all of this, realizing that like God is near, that's one of my favorite things to contemplate, is that the nearness of God, right? And John Paul II again says, just as the infidelity of Israel, but we could also say the infidelity of modern society, right? Just as that does not destroy the eternal fidelity of the Lord, eternal fidelity. Therefore, the ever faithful love of God is put forward as the model of the faithful love which should exist between spouses, right? So it's that eternal fidelity that we kind of anchor ourselves to, we tether ourselves to it. And there we are always cognizant of the nearness of God and God's nearness to us. So then we can kind of rest in that reality that the Catholic family is rooted in the Spirit of God. And so really the family is best viewed and appreciated and understood in this noblest created analogy, as the noblest created analogy of the divine Trinity, right? If you want to understand the Trinity, right, in the most maybe kind of straightforward way, this side of heaven, you just look at the family, right? It's one of the hardest.
The reason it's there.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things to dogmatically categorize.
Yeah.
And I hate when people try to like make analogies of the Trinity because it's always heresy. But like if you want to know what the Trinity looks like, you look at the family. Yeah. Right. It's that fruitful interpersonal relationship between a husband and wife that results in a new person, right? A love that is so powerful that it is another person.
While also incorporating both suffering and joy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that divine family, right, is always there, especially when this or that Catholic family is celebrating in joy. Or maybe it's good for us to remind ourselves of all of this when there's those times of suffering, but realizing that this is our anchor, right? Our anchor is always in Christ. It's always in God, always in the Trinity, who desires not only to lead us more towards Him, but even in this life to help us participate in that eternal marriage of Christ and His bride.
Very true.
The church.
Yeah. And that's us. That's us. We are the bride. Yeah. And so there is definitely a lot to be said about the family, but we hope maybe this helps you with a little bit of kind of beginning to think about this. Maybe you haven't thought about this in the midst of your family. And maybe you are perhaps picking up on, man, if we're going to do this Christianity thing right, if we're going to really be Catholic, can I be willing to be a little weird, seen as a little weird in the eyes of the world? And yet that's where the saints are made, because you know what? The saints were weird. And all of us are called to be saints. And you know what? One of the other things that all of us are all called to, it's that part of the show that we like to call
the CU Pick of the Week.
All righty. Okay. For our first pick of the week, the ladies in the studio are noticing all of our graphics on video. So if you happen to be watching us on the video stream, there's brand new stuff.
We're fancy.
They're yellow. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So pick of the week, Kathleen. I guess you have to start because, well, you're here.
All right. I am here.
What an intro.
Whether you like it or not.
Otherwise, we would have started with Olivia.
Well,
you're here.
Well, I'll tell you this. I did go to the LSU Florida game last night. Go Tigers, because we whooped it.
It's true.
But before the game, I thought this was really cool. They had the United States Special Operations Command Parachute Team, or the Para Commandos.
Oh.
3 guys jumped out of a helicopter 2 miles up in the air, and landed on the eye of the tiger. It was the coolest thing. They had a team down below that was kind of like amping up the crowd and telling us which one each one represented. The last one actually carried a POW flag, and so it was in honor of all those prisoners of war and those who are missing in action. But it's this really cool group of military people, right, comprised of active duty special operators such as Army Special Forces, Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, Air Force Combat Controllers, and Marine
best of the best
Raiders. Yeah, and they do this. This is what they do. They parachute. They jump out of perfectly good flying machines, in order to bring, at these special events, mostly, a lot of football games, but to bring awareness and to honor to the military. And it is really, really cool. I've seen a lot of military stuff. I have military in my family, but it was really cool to see 3 guys land in succession on the eye of the tiger midfield, of Tiger
That takes
Stadium.
precision.
Yeah. And there's a really cool video we're going to link to on Facebook. If you research SOCOM, SOCOM Paracommandos, they have a video of one of the guys who jumped out, and it's his whole journey down. It's really, really cool. And if they have any openings that they need, somebody to work with all the military men, call me.
So Kathleen, do you mean to tell me that your pick of the week this week is a bunch of dudes?
Yep. Yes, it is. And I'm not ashamed.
All right. Okay.
That's because the Swiss Guard aren't readily available.
That's right. The Swiss Guard.
Sometimes you got to go
They certainly
domestic.
aren't propelling out of helicopters.
I know.
The Swiss Guard will have had to actually jump out of something and land on Kathleen's roof,
Yeah.
I think.
Impress me. I'm ready.
She's ready to be impressed. Okay, Olivia, impress us with your pick of the
Yeah,
week.
well, that never happens when I follow Kathleen. So just
yeah.
move on. No, I'm kidding. I'm really excited about my pick of the week because I love coffee.
She does.
I drink coffee every day, and I have since I was like 2 years old. Coffee Milk, what's up? All right, so Parish Coffee is a newer roasting company. I don't know.
Roasting conglomerate.
Roastery.
There you go.
Based out of Kenner. That's I don't know how exactly
Kenner,
how
bro.
new they are. Yeah, Kenner, bro.
Kenner is a suburb of New Orleans for those of you
Yes.
joining us elsewhere.
Yes. And it's really delicious. I don't typically go for flavored coffees because I don't want anything standing between me and my caffeine. But they have some really interesting flavors, number one, but they're also really well done. Like I've had their Bananas Foster,
Oh, yes.
which
Yes.
Who child is delicious. And I was also looking on their website, which we'll link to, and they have all kinds of you would not even contemplate that they would have this many, as well as just your regular dark, medium, light coffee and chicory. But they also have like almond and amaretto.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Right.
Got
What
my
else?
attention.
Yeah, they have. Let's see if I can find it real quick. All kinds of like birthday cake. Yeah, s'mores, autumn
usuals.
spice. Yeah, caramel praline.
The usual. I'm kind of depressed. I need something that tastes like cake.
But also, like, if you're starting to think about gifts and you want to get someone like something truly unique from like a really cool area in the world,
There you go.
South Louisiana is here for you, baby.
That's
Yes.
true. Yeah, that's a good pick of the week. I might have to look that up and see if any of my local supermarchés have parish coffee.
Any of that chocolate chip cookie dough?
I
coffee?
could eat a
It's
cookie
possible.
dough,
We can
anything.
find
I
it.
tell you, I don't know about the cookie dough. Ooh, anyway, all right, Jeff. Sorry, I was busy thinking about
quickly,
cookie
show
dough.
of hands, who likes macaroni and cheese?
Oh,
yeah.
There we
yes.
go. Yeah, we got this unanimous.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've tried Chick-fil-A's mac and cheese.
Oh.
It is so
Yes, Lord.
good. It's so close.
Oh, that's new,
to
isn't it?
homemade. Yeah, it's new on their menu, and they really haven't changed their menu much in a few years. They had one thing they used to love is the carrot raisin salad, but they did away with that a few years
Did
ago.
they
But
really do away with the
Yeah,
carrot raisin
yeah,
salad?
but that's okay.
I guess if you're replacing it with mac and cheese,
But
that's
the mac and cheese, baby,
is
it's
right and
good.
just.
So that's my pick of the week.
Oh my! Well,
Excellent.
I might have to make my way down to my local Chick-fil-A. I don't have a local Chick-fil-A. To my distant Chick-fil-A and try the mac and cheese
So
out.
what is your pick of the week?
My pick of the week. Okay, normally when you think about college chant, you think about what you yell in the football game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
The football field. But my college was a college seminary, a Benedictine college seminary, and perhaps the best example of music that we got all year long was Holy Week. And the monks have written a lot of these pieces of music in addition to some of the more traditional Gregorian chants, etc. And the only place that you could get this music was by going to the liturgies of Holy Week at St. Joseph Abbey in Covington, Louisiana. Until now, the Journey Through Holy Week CD is now out and about. And so all the way from Palm Sunday through the Easter Vigil, you can hear kind of the top 17 hymns and songs that play that are done during the liturgies of Holy Week at St. Joseph Abbey. So I'll even give these to Jeff so that he can start running them as he likes
Very
on the morning show. So Journey Through Holy Week featuring the Schola Cantorum of St. Joseph Seminary College, recorded at St. Joseph Abbey in St. Benedict. So there you go. That's my pick of the week. It's also available for digital download and not just CD.
All right.
Jeff, we are grateful for all of those who watch and who listen and who pray for us.
And this week, the Catholic Underground is possible because of people just like you. Join the growing number of undergrounders at CatholicUnderground.com/donate. An important way to support us is to like us, heart us, star us, and share us on your social media platform of choice. And if you really like our podcast, be sure to go by iTunes, leave us a review, and click on them stars.
I don't know how that works now because I just updated my iOS or my operating system,
yeah.
and it ain't no more iTunes. So I don't know. I guess you have to go in the podcast app. I just noticed that not too long ago
fix it.
here.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out and we'll tell you about it. Our panelists have been Kathleen Lee. She is the Faith Ninja, our Hope Samurai at KLee626 on Instagram.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Olivia Gulino. She's at the.real.omg. Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you.
My goodness.
Real deal.
Yeah, the
Really?
real deal.
Okay.
I'm going to get in trouble after the show. Our tech director is Jeff Blackwell. He's at Jeff Blackwellis on Instagram and Twitter.
Yes.
You can check out everything that he does at jeffblackwell.us. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Father. It's a privilege.
Our research assistant, the leader of the crew in the lab, is Jim Hayes. Our video and graphics director is Ed Ball. And you know me. I'm Father Chris. You can follow me on Instagram at Digital Catholic. We hope that we've helped you cut through the noise and find that still small voice. We are the Catholic Underground. We're faith gone digital, and we'll see you next time.
From the Catholic Underground.